We have talked about them, we know who they are, and now they are with us. Welcome all the regulators invited today. I would like to present you from the left, Camilla Rosenberg. She's Director General for the Swedish Gambling Authority. Welcome, Camilla. We have Anders Dorph here he's the director for the Danish Gambling Authority. And we have Christel Fiorina here as well, who is from the National Gaming Authority in France, and Yanica Sant, General Counsel, Malta Gaming Authority. My first question to you all is, I know that you have followed the conference a couple of hours now. Is there anything that really stuck to you that you want to start with here? For example, what about the example we just viewed, an initiative from the UK and the Gambling Commission who actually financed this project? It's open here, so I start with Fiorina, for example.
Good afternoon, all of you. I'm very pleased to be there. That afternoon was very interesting. I heard about the aim for operators to provide a safer gambling, and I think that we share the common objective. And just speaking about the last initiative of the Gambling Commission, as regulators, of course, we discuss with our European colleagues, and we try also to share our experience and to share the best practices. So definitely we know that the Gambling Commission has taken a lot of initiatives that are very interesting, and that one is very, very accurate.
Is there something we could see more examples of? Anders?
Yes, definitely. We have something quite similar in Denmark, and I think it's a very good initiative. So thumbs up for that one, definitely.
And Camilla?
No, I was just very positive to learn that the majority of the participants in this conference was really interested to learn more about safer gambling. And I think that's really crucial for the future of the gambling industry. So it's very positive.
And Yanica?
Conferences like this one are a staple on my calendar. They're always it's very encouraging to see operators take the lead and reaching out to regulators from various jurisdictions and seeking bases on which to collaborate and cooperate and achieve our objective. As Christel said, we have the same objective of keeping gambling safe, and fair and free from crime. So in that sense, it's good to see us all here collaborating together.
So what do you think about Talk Ban Stop? Is that something you could do from your perspective as well?
There's definitely a lot of bases on which to go there. It's definitely something that we should be looking into, and it's very encouraging to see operators and regulators work together on that front.
Good, good. Now we're talking a lot about cooperation here, share knowledge, share data. I know there are some regulations in the way, but is there any chance that we can harmonize the regulations in the near future? I love your smile. You all smile. Is there any chance? Because we're always discussing how we can share knowledges, and there is, of course, an obstacle to this. What are your plans? How can we make another step forward on this? Camilla seems ready.
We do have some cooperation, and we do have some agreements with some of you already on working together. So that can, of course, improve, but then we have to have the respect for every other or each other's jurisdictions and our differences as well, both cultural and also in the regulation. But of course, we can cooperate a lot more together, and we are looking forward to doing so.
What would the first step be, Camilla? Do you have any initiative going on or something you really would like to share or at least hint about?
We have a memorandum of understanding with 4 other authorities in Europe, and that also gives us the tool we need to cooperate.
I lost you there, Camilla. Okay, we'll continue with Christel, and I think we lost Camilla for a moment. Yes, Christel, I saw that you waved a bit there.
Yes, thank you for that question. It's very interesting because, yes, as I told you, we have a lot of exchanges between European regulators. I think we can continue to exchange, and especially to exchange about best practices, to have an overview of what is the European market, because for the moment I don't think that we have that kind of overview, and especially what is the position of that European market worldwide. And on the other hand, I think that we can also have a cooperation on the scientific way, because as you know, we have to make some progress into the scientific research about addiction in gambling. And I think that kind of subject, which is very important in France, because in France, l'Autorité nationale des jeux, the French regulator, is trying to stimulate the research in addiction in gambling. You know that research is a worldwide subject, and I think that the European cooperation in that kind of topics can be very, very useful.
Anders, how do you share it?
Well, I think cooperation in the European countries is extremely important, and there's been some effort in trying to gather an expert group in EEC, and it has not been possible to do that. But I think it's extremely important to have a very close cooperation and exchange thoughts on these very serious issues. So let's keep on talking in Europe and keep on learning from each other. But I'm not sure we'll have a common regulation. I think it will take some time, and I think the difference between the countries are maybe too big to make a common regulation in the European Union.
How do we balance this question when there are certain regulations that sort of drive the gambling people to the black market? It's a very tricky balance here. Any comments on that, Yanica?
The black market and the attractiveness of the black market unfortunately depends on, very much in my opinion, the legislator striking a balance between a robust framework and a framework which does not really allow regulated operators to operate freely within a market, within a regulated environment. I think it is our obligation and our duty as regulators to work with operators to make sure that so to speak, well-behaved operators are able to operate in a market, in a regulated environment, in an environment where the offer is safe to consumers, is fair, and is monitored at licensing stage, at compliance stage. I think that is our duty as regulators, and it is the operator's duty to, of course, fulfill their obligations under that license and under the respective laws.
Okay. I see, Yanica. Now we have questions from the audience. To you all, actually, it's an open question. The first one is, to achieve a truly sustainable gambling market, if you had to choose one specific issue to be addressed, what would that be? I just want to check if Camilla is with us. Camilla is with us with sound. Yes, Camilla. Did you hear that question? I don't see you, but that's okay. I hear you. Did you hear that question?
Can you repeat it again?
Yes. To achieve a truly sustainable gambling market, if you had to choose one specific issue to be addressed, what would it be? It's a question from the audience.
I think safer gambling will be that particular issue. I think it's very important to build the trust for the gambling industry, and that we can work together on that matter as well. But that will be the most important one. And especially if you look at young people today, it's very important to work for a company with good ethics standards, and also sorry.
You can say it in Swedish and I can translate it.
Can you still hear me?
Yes,
I can't hear anything.
You don't hear us? Okay.
No, I can't hear anything, sorry.
Camilla doesn't hear us, so let's continue with Christel and Anders. Could you please take one on this as well? Specific issue to be addressed, what would it be?
I think
that...
Sorry, Christel first. Christel, sorry.
Oh, thank you. I think that one issue could be to ensure at first that the player is playing on an honest offer, a legal offer, an honest offer, and a sustainable offer. That's why we try at l'ANJ to develop a fine balance between the attractiveness of that market, because of course it's a real economic market which creates value, which creates jobs, but we want also to balance it with the player protection in a pragmatic approach, that because we want also that the regulatory framework we want also the regulatory framework to be adapted to the constraints of the operators. So I think that, yes, the main issue is to make sure that the player is playing on that honest offer and sustainable offer. And
isn't that difficult, Christel, isn't that difficult to know what a sustainable offer is?
I think that at first, is it difficult or not? We have to exchange with operators. What could be difficult if it could be that not to be aware of what are the difficulties for the operators to make, for instance, protection framework using big data. We heard before that, for instance, we have now some technologies that are not mature but that are ongoing, using big data and machine learning in order to design detection framework. So I think that we must have an approach step by step with the operators, not to have the perfect system now, but to be able to design a system that will increase the quality and the security of the gaming for the gamblers in the next years.
Anders, what do you say? It sounds like it's a bit of try and error here as well.
Well, I think I agree very much in what's just been said. I think it's a key issue to make sure that you don't get these stories in the press about one player who lost everything and came home from military action and had 1 million and then lost it all in 6 months. I think it's key that the gambling industry are able to be proactive here and be sure that they figure out who is going to develop a gambling problem and stop them before they get too far into the gambling issues. So that's really important, that the gambling industry are able to detect and make sure to stop these players. I think these stories are really, really damaging for the industry. Every time we have a story, everybody says, what can we do about the gambling industry? We have to do something. This cannot continue. So I think it's really key, and I think data sharing, as Henrik Tjernström said, is really important, that we share data and we become better in artificial intelligence to make sure that we can actually spot who is developing a problem and then stop them before they are too far. So that's a key issue, very important.
The audience is coming up with a lot of questions. Here's another one. Has any representative of regulators reflected upon collaborating with operators to find best practice?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think dialogue is key here, and we need to have a very close dialogue with the industry, with the operators, to make sure that we are one step ahead.
Okay. And I'm continuing here because we are having lacking of time as always. How do you see cooperation across the entire industry? Providers, regulators, operators, researchers, etc. can support a more sustainable industry. Any examples of shared projects you'd like to see? Which also goes aligned with my question. What is top of mind now when we are ending the conference and we need action? So what is top of mind? What will you do next? Any examples of shared projects you'd like to see, for example? I start with Camilla. if you hear me. No, she's not with us. Yanica.
Sure. One example that we are working on at the moment is trying to come up with, act as a sounding board for the industry and hosting working groups and roundtable discussions for responsible gaming baselines, basically. So we would like to see some degree of standardization, at least some agreement on what the minimum standards should be beyond what the law requires. So the law itself should not be the minimum for operators, but we would look forward to seeing operators working together for a form of self-regulation that tops and will improve upon regulation by jurisdiction. And because the industry has matured enough, it is now a grown industry with a lot of data and improved technology, then we believe that this is the right time for something like this.
Top of mind, your next step, Anders.
I could just mention one example. We work closely together with operators and the Danish Competition and Consumer Authority to decide whether pop-up windows should be mandatory by law as an intervention on consumers showing signs of problematic gambling. So this is one example how we work together with the industry in order to find the best possible solution. But top of mind is make sure you don't get stories about problem gamblers getting too far ahead.
Thank you, Anders. And Christel?
Maybe shortly two examples. For instance, we've been delivering experimental licenses on games in order to having a roadmap and an action plan with the operator on different types of games to see if the games works on economic aspects, but also if the games prevent the gambler from addiction. So that is an example of a close cooperation between the regulator and the operator on maybe innovative games using that experimental licenses. And the second example, I think, could be what we are currently doing on protection and prevention framework for the gamblers. We try to give some expertise to the operators in order to help them to develop detection plans and protection plans for the gamblers and the players. And it is a close discussion we have with the operators. And in that point of view, we try to combine what are the difficulties of the operators and what are the demand of the regulator for protection, and we try to exchange our own experience on one side of the gambling and the other side from the regulator, the scientific experience we can provide to the operators.
Thank you for this, Christel, Fiorina, Anders Dorph, Yanica, Sant, and I'm sorry that Camilla couldn't be with us. We had some technical issues. Thank you very much, the regulators, and I hope you will be back with us next time. Thank you for updating us.